Alright guys, this is a different kind of video and I'll try to keep my existential spiraling down to a minimum, but hey, I can't make any promises. So recently I was contacted by Tim Card, a Leukemia and Lymphoma Society Visionary of the Year and father of 7, who did his first ever cross-country trip on a BMW R18, all the way from California to his home state of Pennsylvania to raise funds and awareness for the LLS. Tim survived a rare and aggressive form of diffuse large B-cell non-Hodgkin's lymphoma that was unresponsive to chemotherapy. But luckily there was a brand spanking new and outrageously expensive form of treatment called CAR T-cell therapy that ended up saving his life. And if you know anyone who has been flung into the throes of cancer, you know that it is a living hell on a physical, spiritual, mental, and financial level. Seriously, if it doesn't kill you, it will leave you and your family in financial ruin. Is this where I should start singing the national anthem? All hail the American healthcare system. But anyways, meeting Tim in person and hearing his story was truly an honor and awe-inspiring to witness the miracles of modern science as it revived Tim back to life to live out his days with his family. I wanted to check in with him after his long journey, so let's see how it went.
So you made it.
I did make it. I made it home.
Let's start with the ride. How was the ride?
The ride was amazing. I mean, it was really incredible. It was 500 miles in a car is very different than 500 miles on a motorcycle. You know, that's the first thing I learned, right? Like, don't trust the Google. It tells you it's going to take you 7 hours. Guess what? It's going to take you 9, at least. Yeah. You know, so like, but other than that, it was amazing. You know, it was incredible. It was just probably a once in a lifetime experience. I'm so glad I was able to take advantage of.
Was this your first time? Was this like your first time riding a gigantic trip? I mean, from coast to coast?
Yeah, I've driven twice from Pennsylvania where I am to Saskatchewan where my wife grew up, or 3 times, I guess. Once alone before we got married, and then once with 4 kids and a pregnant wife, and once with 5 kids and a pregnant wife in a minivan. I got pulled over in Minnesota. The cop looked in, he goes, just go. Like, he saw what a mess it was.
Dude, I love how you get pulled over in Minnesota. That's where you always get pulled over.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, Kias aren't supposed to go that fast, but man, they did.
I'm sure you're doing 57 and a 55, you know?
Yeah, that's what it was. I was just barely exceeding the speed limit. But yeah, this is the farthest. Up until the day I left Santa Monica, the longest ride I'd ever done on a bike was 250 miles.
So you went from 250 to 2,000? Like how long is that?
3,500. It was 3,500 miles, roughly. I kind of lost track. Yeah, it was a long way.
Did you feel absolutely roasted, like mentally, by the time you got home, or did you feel energized? Or
I felt surprisingly good. I thought physically I'd be in agony. I thought I'd be popping Advil like M&Ms, and I wasn't. I didn't take a single Advil the whole time. I was amazed. But every 140 miles, you got to get up and walk around anyway. So I kind of stretched out.
You were also on a big barge. You were on an R18.
It was a big bike. It was the biggest bike I've ever ridden. My bike that I have here is an 1100, and this is significantly bigger than that. And I sat on like, oh my God, my bike is small. And I never thought that before when I got on my bike.
So how was it riding not only your first time across the country, but your first time on a gigantic cruiser? It was great. I loved it. It was just, you feel very planted to the ground. I mean, all that thing weighs like 700 pounds and 400 of it is engine, and it's all way down like below your feet. So you're very planted. It's a very solid bike to ride. It's got a real long wheelbase. So it's made to go in a straight line, 100 miles an hour for an hour and a half at a time, you know, from gas station to gas station. So perfect for American riding.
Perfect for American riding. Yeah, it was ideal. It was the ideal bike for this trip.
Did you have any issues?
One, coming into Dallas, about 100 miles outside of Dallas, it started raining, which I was loosely prepared for. You know, I had rain pants, and that was about it. Well, see, I mean, that'll keep you dry, right? It'll be fine. So as soon as it started raining, the check engine light starts flashing. What the hell is going on here? So, I needed gas because I've been driving 100 miles an hour across Texas for the last 3 hours. So it sucks through the gas at that speed. And I'm pulled over. I called the guys like, what should I do? Like, this isn't my bike. Like, If it was my bike, I'd push on to Dallas, but it's not my bike. And I don't feel like being stranded with a broken bike that I don't own in the middle of Texas in the rain. Like, that seems like a bad plan. They're like, how's the oil? Well, I guess I could check the oil. And to check the oil on this thing, it's, the oil window's at the bottom of the engine, way down low. There's no center stand. So I got to get on the right side and lean this thing over, lean down in the grass, in the rain, in the water, and try not to drop it as I'm looking under the skirt, trying to see if I can see where the oil, and the oil was fine. That wasn't the problem.
That's the first question for any BMW mechanic.
Where's the oil?
Yeah.
How's the oil? Yeah, I needed some eventually, but I think actually after I left you, I pulled over and put a little bit in, but that was the only real issue. And then I kind of waited for the rain to stop. And I was hoping that the storm would kind of move through Dallas and I'd be able to skirt around the outside of it. That didn't happen. I think it was Fort Worth I got to, and it started raining again. But as soon as I got on the road, the check engine light turned off. So, I guess it just doesn't like being wet. So, all right. But then as soon as it started raining again, it came on again. So I didn't know what the hell the problem was, but just getting into Dallas, I was so terrified. Like, it was just, I rolled into Dallas. Right at dusk. It's pouring down rain. I can't see anything. Like, I'm doing this all the time, so I get my visor clear, but it's fogging up. So I lift the visor, and I got water inside the visor. So doing this just makes it worse. And I can't really see well, and the highways are ridiculous. And the GPS is telling me get into the left lane. There's like 6 left lanes. Like, which one do you want? And one of them's an express lane, and one of them's not. And I'm sure that these guys are going to get some letters in the mail from the great state of Texas that says, "Please pay your toll because you got in the express lane without the right thing." And on all the highways, this big corkscrew that leads you down like you're circling the drain to get the middle of town where my hotel was. And I'm like screaming at inside my visor, like, where the hell is my hotel? And people are buzzing by me. There's 2 times where I thought, that's it. I'm done. Like, someone's going to kill me here. But I did make it. But that was really the only bike problem that I had the whole time. Besides I lost the side cover where the tools are hidden. It's somewhere on the side of the road in West Texas.
Who did you borrow the bike from?
Go Fast, Don't Die. Go Fast, Don't Die. Had I known it was $140, I would have turned my ass around and found it. But
I'm sure you would have. Oh, it's black, right? It's part of the earth now.
I found my daughter's brake handle on the side of the road.
Whoa, okay.
Yeah. She was riding the little Ninja, and she calls like, "Daddy, my brake handle fell off."
You've got those dad eagle eyes then.
What do you mean your brake handle fell off? But the screw came undone and it just popped off. So she's like, riding like an old dirt bike with just a rear brake. Hold on, I'll come get you. And I was up and down the road and I found it. It's like in a pile of bamboo.
That leads me to my next question. You dropped a bomb on me right before we filmed the video. You had only been riding for a year, right?
Yeah. It's a year, I think, in March, actually, if that.
So what got you into riding?
So I've always been fascinated with motorcycles just because I'm a man and they're cool, right? So, but I've never really got on one. My son bought that little Ninja 250 when he turned 18, and we were all terrified of it. And he definitely put it down and didn't tell us until much, much later. And why is it all scratched up, Nick? Oh, yeah, it was rainy and I had to slide it. But he bought it, and then he took me for one of my birthdays. Like, I'm going to teach you how to ride a motorcycle. So we went to his college and rode around in circles. I don't even think I ever twisted the throttle. And I think I got the clutch out.
And
that was it. Just in little circles in his parking lot over Easter break. And that was the extent of my motorcycle knowledge. I've ridden a road bicycle for 20 some odd years, right? So I'm used to playing I'm invisible, everybody's drunk. Like, that's the game I play when I'm riding to make sure that I don't get hit by people. And it's a similar game with the motorcycle. It's definitely varsity versus the JV squad, right? But it's demonstrably the same, but very different, much faster, right? But still the same thought process. I'm invisible, everybody's drunk, and they still can't hear me, even though these pipes are loud as hell. You can't hear me coming. So that head on the swivel all the time. So I was used to that. But my son Nick was moving to Georgia, and the bike wasn't running great, and he didn't want to drag a half-ass running motorcycle down to Georgia with him to have it half-ass running there. So he was going to all but give it away. And my daughter, Madeline, who was 18 at the time, says, well, I want to learn how to ride a motorcycle.
Hell yeah.
And Nick, yeah, right. So, and this is where it's scary, because I always want to raise my kids to be someone that I would like to hang out with if I wasn't related to them. But then it happens. You're like, oh shit. Like, I raised a pretty cool chick, but oh God, she's my daughter and she wants to ride a motorcycle. Oh, I have feelings about this. But, so she says, I want to ride a bike. And Nick says, well, look, if you can get this thing running, you can have it. So she said, okay, cool, I'll do it. So I said, well, hold on, time out. Like, if you're going to learn how to ride a motorcycle, I'm going to learn how to ride a motorcycle. We're going to do this together. Right? This would be a daddy-daughter thing, not a rebellious daughter thing. You know, we're going to have fun and make this something that we share. So she got the bike and I got the bike running. It needed a battery. You know, he went to AutoZone. They gave him the wrong one. So I went to the bike place. They gave me the right battery. It ran like a champ. So no problems there. So $50 and the bike is running.
Best case.
But now, best possible case scenario. Yeah, couldn't have been any better than that. My son called me. He bought a bike and he couldn't get it running. He's changing the spark plugs. He's new battery, everything. Couldn't figure out what it was. He had no gas. He needed to put gas in the engine. like, you are too smart to be that dumb, man. Like, come on. But I get it. Like, motorcycles don't typically have a fuel gauge, so. And if it was his first bike, he didn't know either. But we do make fun of him a lot for that. Does it have gas? Like, that's the question for everything.
Oh, no, that's a lifer thing.
Oh, does it have gas? Ooh. So she learned how to ride. I learned how to ride. But now we have a problem, right? We have two people that ride motorcycles and just the one motorcycle, which is at least one too few motorcycles.
Right.
Right. The right number of bikes is N plus one, right? Well, N is the number of motorcycles you have, and then plus one. The other side of that equation is D minus one, where divorce is D. So whatever bike it is that gets you to divorce, you stay one under that, which is where I'm at now, currently in my garage. So I managed to talk to my next door neighbor. She had this old GS 500 in her garage that I hadn't seen in a very long time. Like, the last time I saw it, her husband was on, her ex-husband, and they were happily married at the time. So it's been a while since I've seen this bike. So I'm texting back and forth with her about this bike. Hey, is it still there? And she finally comes around to saying, Tim, do you want my motorcycle? I said, well, now that you bring it up, yes, I do. Says, if you can get it out of my garage and get it running, you can have it. So this one needed more than a battery, right? It had been sitting for 15 years. It hadn't been registered since 2007. So it needed, a new battery, new lines, new brake pad, like all the stuff. I was elbows deep in carburetors before I knew what I was doing. Looking at YouTube and talking to some friends and trying to figure out what's going on, and rebuilt the carbs, and still wasn't running quite right. I could it got to half a tank of gas and just stopped. And I couldn't figure out what was happening. It never went over 70, which was not at all fast enough. Getting outrun by the Ninja was embarrassing. So it turns out her ex-husband was also fussing with it, and either her or the kid, and he had drilled the pilot screws and the carbs in so tight he snapped the tips and the needles off. So the only gas that was getting in there, no matter what I did, was sneaking past the needle tips that were broken in the carb. So I took it to a shop and they fixed it, and it ran great. And I rode around for a little while and immediately wanted something bigger. So I sold the Ninja and bought the Virago. And so now I have a Virago 1100, and that's the bike that I've been riding since October. And then that's it. That's my motorcycle history.
And then you pitched for fundraising for your foundation. And the name of the foundation again is?
It's the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. So it's a nationwide organization. They're dedicated to fighting blood cancer in particular, or helping to eradicate blood cancer. Started off because the people that founded it, their son had leukemia and there wasn't any good treatment. So they started a fundraiser, and it's blown into this $1 billion organization. They fund some of the most amazing things. The treatment that I got, the CAR T that I got, was funded by them. The research was funded by the LLS. So I, in a very real way, owe my life to the LLS.
I can't imagine an emergency surgery for me was $45,000. I can't even wrap my head what a treatment, an experimental treatment is.
It's so expensive.
I can't even imagine.
My treatment wasn't even experimental. It was, but just the medicine, just the cost to make the one dose was $350,000. Just for the dose. That doesn't include, all the chemo and radiation I had to get up to that point. It doesn't include the 17-day hospital stay and all the treatment I got after I got it. That's just the medicine. but it's a single dose. They make one dose just for you. So it's personalized medicine, which is it's bonkers, but it's amazing, but it's expensive.
So how did you get them to sign off on riding a bike across the country?
Who? Go Fast Don't Die or the LLS?
The LLS.
So I was planning this ride across the country anyway. Before I got involved with the LLS this year, I had soft sold the idea because I was going to be in LA in end of March for another country company I had done some consulting for, and they were going to fly me out, and I was going to be there. And the last time I did that 250-mile ride I did was to Virginia to see them, and they paid me for the miles. So I rode out, and instead of flying me out there, they paid me the 67 cents a mile. So I thought, I wonder if I ship my bike out, if they would pay me 67 cents a mile to ride it back.
You're thinking a motorcyclist. You're like, how do I just ride?
How can I make money doing this? Because this is awesome. Or at least how can I break even doing this, right? So I talked to them, like, yeah, we might be able to do that. We'll see. And so the conversation you got to go through a lot of red tape to get there. So then I soft sold the idea to my wife, and it wasn't a hard no, right? But it wasn't an enthusiastic, overwhelming support either.
You weren't going to go do this super safe thing. You were going to be gone. Right, yeah. You're going to leave her with all the kids.
The kids for like 10 days. She doesn't get to go have fun. Right. It was a big ask. I appreciate that it was a big ask. And I tried to sell the financial benefit of it. Like, by the time I get paid to be out there and get paid for the mileage, we'll make money on this. Like, I'll come home, $1,000 richer than I was when I left. So when else do I make $1,000 to ride my bike across the country?
Right.
But then the LLS called and said, hey, we would love to have you involved with this Visionary of the Year campaign this year. Someone else nominated you. They really want you to be in. Would you like to do that? And I said, well, yeah, I think I could probably do that. When does it start? They said, end of March. But I have an idea. What if I rode a motorcycle across the country for a fundraiser? Would that be a good idea? And she's like, that would be a great idea. So selling it to the LLS was easy. That was the easy part. They thought it was amazing. And I went back to my wife, Patricia, and sold it as that. And she was much cooler with the idea at that point.
So she was much cooler with you writing for a purpose versus like, right. I just want to, come on.
I just want to do this cool thing. Come on. Yeah. You'll be fine.
Right. So you knew you didn't want to do it on your personal bike, right? Because you'd have to ship it, or were you thinking?
I would have to ship it. I knew some guys in the shipping industry. I used to work in a fulfillment company. So I figured I could get it out there, at least for cost. That wasn't the worry with my bike. The worry with my bike is it's 25 years old with shoddy maintenance history at best. I did a lot of work when I bought it. At one point, the throttle cable snapped in my garage. Like right after I got home, the cable just snapped. That's not good. I guess I should replace that. So I got a new one. And when I put it on, I took the old one off, and the throttle cables have little adjusters on either side to pick up the slack. This guy, I guess he didn't know that because he just wrapped the slack around the handlebar. I don't know how this thing works. How does this thing spin? Like, I don't get it. But so that was the level of maintenance. Like the exhaust was just kind of pushed together, but it wasn't clamped in any meaningful way.
Right.
So I replaced everything. I replaced the clutch cable, the throttle cable, the brake fluid, the pads, the exhaust. I put a new exhaust on. Did all the valve adjustments, I got it up to snuff, but it's still a 25-year-old bike. It's only an 1100. It doesn't have anything like a fairing or a windshield or anything, just out there in the open. So, and there's a lot of nothing where I was, like from Phoenix to all the way to pretty much Dallas is 100 miles an hour in a straight line. Like you can see everything. Or you're in the mountains, and neither is a place that I wanted to break down.
No.
And I was worried about that.
So you hit up Go Fast, Don't Die? Was that your first?
I hit up a couple people. No, okay. I tried to get to a couple different manufacturers, like all the ones that made a big cruiser, like Harley and Indian and BMW, like not Honda, because I didn't want to ride a Goldwing. I'm not that old. But
I'm trying to ship a Goldwing down here right now.
Are you really? Yeah. Are you that old? You don't seem that old.
It looks so comfortable, and that's what you were looking for, right? You're looking for something comfy.
It did look comfy. So anyway, I had some conversations, they all kind of fizzled and didn't really go anywhere. And then, so I was reaching out to anybody I could find. Hey, help me out with this trip, sponsor me, help me out, and, throw some stuff my way. Give me a microphone. There's something that I can do to help raise some money, right? Because I need 500 people to give me $100 and I win, right? So that's all I'm looking for. So Go Fast, Don't Die, I reached out to them and said, look, I'm literally going to be going fast and not dying. I would love to, I would love to have a shirt. And that's really all I was looking for. So we got on a call with them and Brady and I were on together. Brady is the guy from Go Fast. And we hit it off immediately. And he and I both had owned CrossFit gyms in the past. We had that, kind of overlapping interest and all that goes along with that. He actually knew exactly what CAR-T was because he does sound for shows and concerts and stuff, and happened to get called in for a national oncologist meeting. And they spent 2 days talking about CAR-T, and he had to make sure that everyone could hear it just right. So he knew what I had gone through and what I was, and so they were on board. And somewhere through the conversation, he says, so do you have a bike? And I said, well, I have a bike. Yeah. So well, would you like to borrow ours? And I immediately said yes, because I knew whatever they had was
whatever it is.
It's going to be cooler than mine if nothing else. Like, yeah, I'll take it. He says, have you heard of a BMW R18? I said, oh my God, yeah, like that's a bike I know. Because that's the bike I was angling for, really, when I was talking to BMW. Like, that's what I asked for. Like, give me one of them. And I said, yeah, you can use ours. We'll figure out how to get it to Los Angeles, and you can take ours across the country. And that was it. Like, that was the whole pitch.
Did they take it back yet?
No, they have not.
So it's still hanging out in your garage. You still get to look at it? It's in my
garage. I'm riding it. It'd be a shame to let it sit still.
Yes.
I mean, that'd be a crime. That'd be negligent even.
You don't want it to collect dust.
No, you can't let it sit in the garage or rot. And that's no good.
Nope.
No good. No, you don't want that. It'd be unfair to them for me to let their motorcycle rot in my garage.
Well, I love how it's like I can feel the motorcycle passion in this whole story. It's like you survived dying, right? Mm-hmm. You came back to life. You connected with your family. You were trying to figure out a way to ride a bike for a cause, the cause that saved your life. And it all lined up. It's crazy to hear about the guy from Go Fast, Don't Die. Like, oh yeah, I know what that is. I had to do a thing on that.
Yeah, of all the things.
So many really cool coincidences that just made it happen. And I love that you made it across the country without any issues or really any like big scares or.
But yeah, it's neat when the universe lines things up. Like when all the stars align like that, it doesn't happen often.
No.
So when it does, jump on it when the opportunity comes up, because who knows if it'll ever happen again. It probably won't.
Well, it's so awesome. Thanks for chatting with me. And I love the whole story. The whole story is really cool. And we're going to try to blast this as far as we possibly can.
Yes, please. I need 500 people to give me $100. That's it. 500 people to give me $100.
We got to
thousands and thousands of followers. I'm sure you've got 500 on there. They got $100 to fight cancer. It's not for me. Give it to me. Give it to the LLS, and we'll make a huge impact.
A lot of us on motorcycles know somebody who's been sick with cancer.
Yeah,
somebody who's survived. We go to motorcycles for all sorts of reasons, and dealing with the stressors of life is a big one.
Is a big one. Yeah, that's a huge one. Like,
so maybe I'll put up your LINKTREE then?
Yeah, that's fine. Okay. That'll be fine.
I'll put up your LINKTRee. Awesome.
Don't forget to click the spicy link. Oh, yeah.
Don't forget to click his spicy link. He's gotten something. He got me with it. I was like, all right, what is this?
I got my aunt with it. Like, Aunt Teresa, why are you possibly clicking on that? You are
got
my
an Aunt Teresa too. Look at that. Another coincidence.
Same lady. Yeah. My Aunt Teresa? Are we related? That'd be weird.
All right, man. Well, it was a pleasure getting to know you and a pleasure getting to blast your story out. And
I appreciate it.
We will get people out there listening.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much. I can't thank you enough. It was great getting to meet you and see your cool motorcycle. Like, BMWs are fun and all that. Like, it was and a good cup of coffee. I had a lot of coffee at that place. Woo. I just kept drinking it.
That will buzz you too. Yeah. Where we went.
Yeah. That was good stuff. So thank you for showing me around Austin and taking the time. I really appreciate it.
Of course.
One of the highlights of my trip. So
awesome. Well, have a good weekend and happy Easter.
Thank you. You as well.